Hi again, I'm Stephen Wessner, CEO of Predictive ROI on another cold Wisconsin morning. So, more seriously, let's talk about, for this video, let's talk about the very important topic. When will success come? I think in today's sort of mindset or business culture or whatever bucket you want to put it in, I think it's very popular to think, oh, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to build this business as a result. Or I'm going to launch my business today, and then a few months from now or a year from now, it's now going to be a 7-figure business, and it's going to be immensely popular or profitable, and I'm going to be taking all the vacation time that I want and all of that. And then the reality sets in when somebody launches that business, and somebody starts digging in, and no doubt doing the hard work, but then the reality doesn't match the expectations. So why? And it's because that would violate a law of nature. Now, are there some abnormalities or some sort of circumstances where a company goes from here to there, kind of this stochastic growth? Of course there are. But the more the norm, what is more typical, is the law of nature, the S curve of growth. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to share a clip here from when I was a guest at Quantum Leap System Live, or QLS Live, in September, which is hosted by the Smart Real Estate Coach team, led by Chris Prefontaine and his family. And so they asked me to share some observations from a couple of the days. Sorry, loud truck going by. And one of those was, there were a lot of questions around, well, when will my business start to grow? When will my business start to scale? When will my business start to do this, that, and perform at these levels? And so I addressed that on stage and took attendees into the law of nature of the growth S curve, or the S curve. And so I hope that you find this helpful as you think about, as you're stepping into 2020, how you will map out the growth curve of your business. So I'll be right back. When will success come? So this is back into the observation piece. I hear this question often within the group, and it's a very fair question about how long will it take for me to get my first deal? When will I get my first deal? How successful will I be in the first year? And Chris is doing a really great job of setting expectations that it's somewhere around 36 months or maybe longer. So what I wanted to do is add some additional context outside of this group and bring it into this group of why that's a really good timeline, and how maybe even longer is even more realistic, and giving you a couple of examples that relate to grit as well. So here's what I mean by that. So this might seem like an unusual example when we're thinking about grit, because most people's paradigm about this particular brand is, oh, they're one of the most awesome brands on the planet. So a little bit behind the curtain. Again, it might seem like an unusual grit brand, and that's Starbucks. Okay, so show of hands, anybody can tell me when Starbucks was actually founded, the year? 85, 72-ish? Okay, so it was 1971. Most people think that Starbucks all of a sudden burst onto the planet in the late 90s, when the reality is that they were founded in 1971. Does anyone want to take a guess as to when they had 10 stores? Like how many years it took them to get to 10 stores? Really good guesses. Okay, it actually took them 14 years to open 9 stores. 9. It took them almost 6 years before they ever ventured to open a store outside of Seattle. And then look what happened. But it took them 14 years of system improvements and process improvements and grit, firing people, hiring people, training people, completely changing the brand, the recipes, everything. 14 years to get 9 stores. Would anybody be super freaking excited in this room if it took you 14 years to get 9 deals? Right? So just for context. Now, what would happen to us as a population if they decided to have quit at 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years? What would happen? Right. No place to have meetings. No place to spend more than a gallon of gas for
cup of coffee. Okay, but the reality is this growth curve that I just shared with you, which is what this is a growth curve. This is a little bit of the nerdy academic side of me coming out. Okay, that doesn't just happen with Starbucks or in business. It is actually a law of nature. So this is what I mean by that. This is the plant growth curve. Starts with seeds, gets watered, there's germination, it grows, it matures, it flowers, it dies. That's the plant growth curve. Those are stem cells. That's a population growth curve. Guys, this is a fundamental law of nature. So when you feel the obstacles and the fear and the whatever you want to describe that resistance as, it's not something unique to you. Big brands and plants go through the same thing. So to think that you're going to walk out of QLS Live and all of a sudden you're going to have 10 deals, could that happen? Maybe. There are white dolphins. It could happen. But those are what? Those are abnormalities. Those are anomalies. Those are outliers. Those are things that don't happen all the time. Could it happen? Sure. But it's not typical. Okay? So growth curves. So when we feel that resistance, this is what I thought was so brilliant, if Dan is even still here, but this is what I thought was super, super insightful with what he broke down for you yesterday. If you recall that conversation, the stuff that up in the left, that rut, that familiarity, that comfort zone, he described it much more eloquently than what I'm doing right now. And then the far right was the dream stuff, and then in the middle was the fear stuff, right? So when we're starting this growth curve and it's going really, really slow, that's the law of nature, that's the fear that we're running into. And then he pointed out that straight line between the comfort zone and the dot, which was the dream, was just the hard work. That's it. So if we're going to get past that and actually start to grow, it's the hard work. There are some plants, and I wish I could remember what it is, the species of plant, if that's even the correct way to say it, that you can pot it, and for 5 years it just sits there and looks like it's dead. Thank you. And is it 5 years? Am I correct in that? It doesn't grow at all for 5 years. Talk about a patient plant, right? So just trying to give context here that you're on the right path, but it does take time.
Hi again, welcome back. I hope that you found that clip helpful as you think about, okay, we're closing out 2019, our business is here. As we look to 2020, we want our business to be here. Awesome. But then being able to think about, okay, if I'm going to move my business from here to here, what are all of the additional resources that I'm going to need to have as part of that growth curve? How much cash am I going to need? How many new teammates am I going to need? How am I going to need to onboard and train new teammates as well as train and take culture deeper and expertise deeper with existing teammates? How many new clients will we need to onboard? How will we need to address churn and retention even stronger than you did in 2019? You need to think about all of these things because all of it contributes to your S-curve, your growth curve. So as you're doing your planning, closing out 2019 and thinking about how you're going to double down in 2020, I hope that conversation was helpful. So I look forward to seeing you back next week. I would greatly appreciate your comments, questions, concerns, whatever, in the comment fields below. Until next week, double down and onward with gusto.